this is Amy for Sports Centred, and this is our weekly podcast. We're recording it on a Wednesday, but we're going to have a bit of a World Cup special and a sports roundup. I'm again delighted to be joined by Maria Thompson and Matt Brown. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, all right. Good, thanks.
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Good. Well, we shall kick off, pardon the pun even, with the football and World Cup special. Obviously, the World Cup 2026 starts tomorrow. There's been numerous news stories going on around this World Cup already and it before it's even begun. Um, Obviously, there's been visa issues with the Somalian referee not being allowed access to the US. Obviously, on Sky Sports today, recently, they've said it's due to potential connections with terrorist organisations.
Of course they have.
Yeah, what do we think about that so far before we get into
It,
the actual World Cup?
I hate to say that I'm surprised by it, but I'm really not. Like I did see something today as well that the Canada have opened their arms to him and Mexico have as well. So he's welcome in either of those two countries. But the fact you've now got officials that are being banned on entering, it just kind of points out the fact that should it actually happen, but it just adds to the list of stuff that happens before the games have started.
It's tough as well because he was rated one of the best African
Yeah.
referees as well. So again, like you say, we should be surprised, but we're not. Unfortunately, like he seems very, well, not, obviously he's not going to kick off massively about it, but his response has been very measured, I think, saying obviously he's going to concentrate on his career and things like that. So obviously we wish him well, but there's obviously been other issues with training camps and training facilities with I can't remember what team it is, but having to move because there are lots of venomous snakes around their training facilities. So it's been a bit of a farce before it's even started. Obviously, England are due to have their final warm up match tonight against Costa Rica, I think. And that's even a doubt whether or not it'll go ahead due to torrential rainfall and thunder and lightning. So
Well, yeah, England's camp's based in Kansas, and Kansas last couple of weeks have had all sorts of tornado warnings and thunder and lightning, so that's not surprising.
yeah. Also had obviously some injury issues with some of the Arsenal players joining up a little bit later. Saka, it's I think Thomas Tuchel said it's a doubt whether or not he'll be able to start and finish matches throughout the tournament. Declan Rice is having to have like cortisone injections as well on a back issue. So obviously it's going to be a fun tournament for England. They kick off against Croatia next Wednesday at 9 p.m. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting tournament, so to speak. Obviously, it's across America, Mexico, and Canada, isn't it? So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, the first game starts tomorrow, Group A, Mexico versus South Africa. So I thought we'd have a quick run through of some of the groups and say who we think potentially are going to be our favourites potentially to make it out of those groups. Yeah, and have a little bit of a little guess of who we think will make it through on those for a little bit of fun. So, as I mentioned, obviously tomorrow it kicks off the first game between Mexico and South Africa. In that group A, we've got Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czech Republic. So who do we think are probably the favourites for those?
I don't think you can look past Mexico in that group. I think home advantage will be a big factor. I think South Africa aren't particularly great. I can see Czech Republic being somewhat underwhelming. South Korea could be in with a good shot, but yeah, I think it has to be Mexico that win that group, and I think they probably do it relatively comfortably as well.
Yeah. I think obviously Korea, they've got a very good talented player who we all know well is the England son, obviously be a bit biased. But yeah, it's sort of a bit of a I don't like to say a bit of a nothing group. Like I say, not too many standouts in there. Group B, we've got Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland. Um, Obviously, the first game from that group is on Friday, between Canada and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Put my teeth in. Again, not another clash of the Titans in that tournament. So yeah, there's not really too much we can say about those groups, really, is there? Group C, we've got Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Obviously, Scotland's first tournament since 1998. Bit of a tough group. Obviously, we've got Brazil in there as well. What do we rate Scotland's chances in that group?
It is so tough to call. I mean, I think Haiti will finish bottom. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. Morocco have got some brilliant players, so it depends on whether they can turn up. I mean, I think Brazil are easily favourites for that group. I think they are one of the favourites for the tournament. Scotland, it is so hard to tell with them. You know, they can play really well. They can play some really good football. I mean, you look at the likes of Scott McTominay in that squad and John McGinn amongst others. I think they should come second in that group, but I think the game against Morocco will probably be the decider in that sense. But yeah, I don't think any of those three teams will really pose any threat to Brazil, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think Brazil's attacking strengths are just going to be too much for them. They've got so much experience and World Cup experience as well. So it's a bit of a more of an interesting group, that one. Group D, we've got United States, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. A couple of banana skins probably in that group. Obviously, USA, Mauricio Pochettino, he's had a bit of a tough ride since he's been head coach there as well. Obviously, it's a home tournament as well, so added pressure. Paraguay on a bad side. Australia, obviously, they're not massive titans, but they've got World Cup experience. And Turkey have got some really good players in as well. So it's quite a tough group, actually.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the harder groups to predict because I think they are four sides that are on a relatively level playing field in a sense, really, and none of them are particularly massive nations. I think Turkey are possibly the better side in that group, but they are all relatively similar. I think you look at the players that the USA have got, and they have got some very good players available to them. It's just whether, as a squad, they are good enough. I think Pochettino is a brilliant manager, so it'd be interesting to see what he can get out of them. Australia, not a bad side. There's a few players who've obviously played over here, so there's experience of playing at big levels and everything like that. Turkey again, some great players, and Paraguay again. Who knows? They can turn up and cause a bit of an upset. And yeah, I think, as I said, it is possibly one of the hardest groups to try and predict.
Definitely. And then moving on to Group E, we've got Germany, Curacao, not to be confused with the alcoholic drink. We've got Ivory Coast and Ecuador as well. So I think, again, Germany have got to be favourites in that one. Ivory Coast, I think, a good side. Obviously, won the African Cup of Nations a couple of times. But Ecuador, of course, trouble. Like when England have played, obviously pushed them to extra time, pens as well. So that's it's a tough group. See, Curacao are probably going to finish bottom, but Germany would hope to be favourites maybe for that, but it's a tough group again.
Yeah, I think you have to probably consider the Germans as strong favourites in that group. I think it's probably tougher to predict who's going to be second. I think it is obviously between Ivory Coast and Ecuador. They are two good sides. I mean, I'm a big admirer of the Ivory Coast, I must admit. I've enjoyed watching them over the years with some of the players that they used to have. So we'll see what happens in terms of those two teams. But yeah, I think Curacao will probably be propping up the group at that point.
No. And then Group F, we've got the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. again, can't look past the Netherlands. I don't think they've got some absolute stars in that side, but Sweden, a very good side as well.
I don't think you can write off Japan either. I think
Very
Japan
true.
seem to turn up in a World Cup. I don't know what it is about them. They just seem to every 4 years just seem to turn up and upset the apple cart a little bit. And yeah, I just don't think you can really write them off. I think again it's quite a tough group to predict. I think Sweden will want to do well. Netherlands need to do well. I think I've seen a few people tipping them as sort of dark horses for the tournament. But again, I think Japan could cause a few problems for teams as well.
Makes it a bit more exciting, doesn't it? When there's a group with three, even sometimes four teams that can cause a bit of an upset on there. It makes it a bit more interesting, leading into obviously the playoff games. Group G, we've got Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. I think if Belgium don't finish top of that group, then obviously
Something's gone horribly wrong here.
Something's very, very wrong there. Can't really see any other sides. Obviously, Egypt potentially, but I think, yeah, Belgium should be topping that very easily. Group H, we've got Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. I think again, Spain are the favourites for the tournament. So yeah, should be winning that one. Uruguay, again, a very good side. But I think Cape Verde could be propping up that table along with Saudi Arabia as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say that Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia pick up a point, and that's because they'll draw with each other. I think Spain win the group comfortably. Uruguay second. I mean, Uruguay, a bit like Japan, seem to turn up every 4 years and find ways to beat teams. But yeah, I think Spain are favourites for the tournament for a reason. And yeah, I think they'll win the group at a canter.
Yeah, obviously Uruguay, they've got some good Premiership players in there, obviously biased, but Bentancur obviously plays for them as well, very experienced player. So yeah, I think Spain first, Uruguay can maybe cause some upsets as well. Group I, we've got France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. France, obviously, another favourite of the tournament as well. But again, you can't write off Senegal. African Cup of Nations, obviously, we know what happened there in their game and things like that. But they've got big tournament experience. So again, I think maybe 1 and 2 for them too. Norway of old, obviously, they've caused issues in previous tournaments. So that could be a fairly good group.
Yeah, I think Norway as well, obviously having the likes of Martin Odegaard and Erling Haaland can cause a lot of problems. I think France, again, one of the favourites for the tournament. They'll win the group. Senegal, I'd like to see them do well. It is just tough whether, they will do. I don't think Iraq are going to really cause any problems. So I think it is probably between Senegal and Norway for that second place. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens between those two. But yeah, you just can't look past France at all for that group.
Yeah, like I say, France should top it. But yeah, Norway, if Erling Haaland could get firing, obviously Odegaard's had a fantastic season for Arsenal as well. So that could be quite an interesting group as well for that one. But leading on to Group J, we've got Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. So I think that's Argentina's one to win. I think Algeria, they've got a couple of decent players. Austria, Jordan, I think they'll all fight out between themselves potentially for that second spot.
Yeah, I mean, Argentina, again, going to be one of the favourites for the tournament. Austria have got some good players. We all know that. The likes of Sabitzer, amongst others. They've got a decent squad. Algeria, you can never write them off. I don't think. I mean, you look at how they got the result against England in 2010, I think it was, and they're not a bad side. I feel like I don't know enough about Jordan, and that to me suggests that they will probably not really do anything. But at the same time, you never know. It's the World Cup. Anything can happen. So it'd be interesting to see how they can fare. But yeah, I think probably Argentina and Austria for me.
And Group A, we've got Portugal, Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Again, Portugal are probably favourites for that. Colombia always cause problems, very defensive, very powerful and strong. Uzbekistan, they have got a couple of good players. Trying to think of his name, obviously plays for Man City in there. So got a couple of experienced players that could bode well for the tournament. But yeah, can't look past Portugal. See, they've got a very special player in the midst. So what do you guys think?
I think with Portugal, it's both a blessing and a hindrance that they've got Ronaldo. I think we all know that he is one of the best players of all time, but I also think his ego can play into things. I think you look at it doesn't matter where there's a free kick or a set piece or whatever, he's the one that has to take it. And I don't always think that's the right idea. They've got other unbelievable players, Bruno Fernandes being the best example. I just think that Ronaldo's ego can somewhat be Portugal's undoing. And I think that is ultimately why they won't win the tournament. They should win the group comfortably. I think Colombia will come second. It's then between Congo and Uzbekistan for third and fourth. Two sides that have got some good players in their squads. A couple of Premier League players in both. It's a relatively tough one to predict. Also, it's just come through that England's game is now delayed, so that's fun. So yeah, but I think Portugal will win the group. I just don't see them doing too much else, and I think it will come down to the Ronaldo problem.
I just think that Ronaldo being there is a hindrance for others as well. Yeah, he's still playing at a good standard, but I personally think he should give international a rest in order to actually let other players not necessarily take his spot, but give other players the chance to prove their worth, basically, because him staying there isn't helping. So
I think, like I say, his experience, you need experience within the side, but like I say, it can be a hindrance because everything has to go through him, which isn't always the best option. Like I say, they've got Bruno Fernandes, who's had an incredible season for United. So it'd be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out throughout the tournament and see what sort of Ronaldo we do get in the tournament. Like I say, he's been playing in the Saudi leagues, which isn't the best of leagues, to put it nicely. So obviously we'll see what his levels are. He's an incredible footballer, like one of the best ever to do it. But he's getting old now. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he fares up, especially in some of the conditions. Obviously, I know in Saudi it's very hot, so he'll probably be acclimatized to that sort of weather. But on the other foot, depending on where they're playing their games, if it's torrential rain and things like that, how is he going to perform? Obviously, known as sometimes being a bit of a diva. So, yeah, we'll certainly see what happens with that one. But the final group, Group L, we've got England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Really tough group for England. Croatia obviously always cause England an issue. I think the only blessing for us is that we've got them first in the tournament. In a way, is that going to be good? Obviously, because you sometimes want to build into the tournament, but if you're playing against Croatia needing anything, it's not always ideal. Ghana, obviously African Cup nation side, very good side, got a lot of very good players. And Panama, obviously, I think we played them before in the World Cup about 8 years ago, maybe. So yeah, I think it should be between England and Croatia, but I think with some of Thomas Tuchel's squad selections, I don't know how we're going to play. What do you guys think?
I do think England starting with Croatia first will give themselves and us a good look in of what the squad looks like. I know, obviously, as you say, you wouldn't want that as your first game of the tournament, but obviously it'll give us an indication of where the improvements need to be made.
Yeah, I think starting with Croatia is such a massive game. I think that it should be between us and them for who wins the group. I absolutely hate playing them. I think since about 2008, I've hated playing them. Ghana are a tough side. We all know that. Panama shouldn't really cause us any concerns, but that's the thing with England is that games like that we should be winning comfortably is when we shoot
No.
ourselves in the foot a little bit. And yeah, if we're relying on goal difference, for example, and we only scrape a 1-0 win against them, when in reality we should probably be putting 3 or 4 past them. No disrespect to Panama. If it comes down to that, then it's a big issue for us. I just think that there's still questions that need to be asked of the squad that Tuchel's selected, and yeah, there's still a few questions around it all for me. Obviously, I want to see us do well. We have got a tough group, and I just don't, I just don't know how far we actually can go in this tournament. I know we're one of the favourites for a few people, but I'm yet to be too convinced, in all honesty.
My worry is with like teams like Panama, if they just shut up shop and look to defend and maybe try and grab a goal from set pieces and things like that, have we got those players that can break down the teams like that? Obviously, you've got Harry Kane, who's one of the best strikers in the world. He's unbelievable, but we haven't got the likes of like Foden or Cole Palmer who can maybe unlock defences. So that is my only worry going into, well, obviously there's other worries because I'm not entirely happy with the squad overall, but have we got those players who can unlock defences if they shut up shop against us? I think Croatia, like you said, I hate playing them. They're always very technical. Luka Modric is still going and he's about 104 years old, but he's still absolutely unbelievable. Can spray passes here, there, everywhere. My worry is Harry Kane. He's exceptional at doing that. When he plays for Bayern, he did it for Spurs as well. But who is he going to be spraying those passes onto if he does have to drop deep to then do it? So that is the worry for me for England.
Yeah, and I think I was listening to, I think it's Tim Sherwood yesterday on, I think it's Sky Sports, and he was saying about you could basically pick 2 starting 11s for England, but it's the one with Harry Kane that wins you the World Cup. If we are without Harry Kane for whatever reason, what is our plan B? As much as I like Ollie Watkins, and I think he's a brilliant striker and he's had a great season for Villa, he's not on that same level. And that, I think, is where the issue arises, that we haven't got those players that necessarily can unlock a game. I mean, I hate to bring it back to the squad issue, but Jordan Henderson isn't the player that's going to unlock a game for you. He is the player that if you are 2 or 3-0 up and you want to shut up shop, he is that player. If you are wanting to go out and attack, which is what this squad looks like it's built to do, he's not the right player. And I just don't fully know where Tuchel's going to go with certain substitutions during the tournament, because obviously, you know, it is going to be difficult weather out there. It's weather that our players aren't necessarily going to be used to playing in. We are going to be relying on making those changes. Have we got the suitable options to do that without the likes of Palmer and Foden, amongst others?
Yeah, I think, like I say, those substitutions are going to be key, and you've hit the nail on the head. Who have you got to cover Harry Kane for whatever reason? Ollie Watkins, done very well for Villa. You've got Ivan Toney, but not proven at international level at all. So yeah, I think it's a really tough group. Like I say, our first game is against Croatia Wednesday at 9 p.m. kickoff. Also got game on the 23rd of June, again 9 p.m. kickoff against Ghana, and then our final game in that group is the 27th of June on a Saturday at 10 p.m. So it's against Panama. So hopefully do well, have a few beers, and hopefully celebrate.
Go to bed.
Hopefully celebrate getting out of the group. But no, I think there's a couple of groups in there that could be a couple of banana skins. Ours being that, obviously, with Croatia and Ghana in there. So yeah, hopefully, I know we've been a little bit negative about obviously England. Obviously, we always want them to do well, but we've not won a World Cup since 1966. So it's hard to class us as favourites going into it, or one of the favourites. But obviously, always get behind them. As soon as the game kicks off,
Always.
it'll always be it's coming home. If we get that first win, it's coming home.
As you say, I reckon if we not necessarily win against Croatia, but if we do well against Croatia, the delusion level will start to creep in.
What we do best as English
Always.
fans, but you've got to, obviously, if you don't have that belief, we'll be singing three lines on our shirts, especially with some of the later kickoffs as well. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so sort of that's a bit of a World Cup round off. Hopefully it starts without any other further issues tomorrow night between Mexico and South Africa. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's sad that we've got to kind of hope that nothing else happens at this point, but
yeah.
it is what it is, unfortunately.
Obviously, in other footballing news, one of the other headlines today is that Kieran McKenna is leaving Ipswich. Obviously, we thought it may have been to join Fulham with Marco Silva leaving, but it turns out he's leaving to potentially spend more time, well, wanting to spend more time with his family. I think it's an interesting decision. I thought he'd be moving on, obviously, for the Fulham option. See, Ipswich promoted this season, so there's a lot of managerial vacancies currently in the Prem. Obviously,
Yeah. Do you guys want your jobs?
yeah. Obviously, he's done all that hard work in Ipswich into the Premiership. So yeah, it's an interesting decision.
Yeah, I think I heard rumour a couple of days ago that he was going to leave. Nothing was said as to what the reasoning was. I think we all thought it was that he was going to take over at Fulham. He has obviously said he wants to spend more time with his family, which is perfectly understandable. It does beg the question of who's going to come in to Ipswich now. Obviously, they are newly promoted. They're going to need a big summer. I don't fully understand the timing of it. I think if you're going to leave, you leave at the end of the season that's just gone, rather than, a couple of weeks before the start of pre-season. The favourite for the Fulham job is now Frank Lampard, which would then, if he does go, it then creates another job opening in the Prem with Coventry. And again, who goes in there? No one knows. It's all just one big managerial merry-go-round at the minute.
Football's version of silly season.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm trying to think of sort of some managers that are currently available. We've got like some sort of Sean Dyche, who could potentially do a job at Ipswich, could do a job at Coventry if Frank Lampard does move on to them. I'm just trying to think of other managers. Obviously, you've got Glasner, who left Palace, but is he going to leave Palace for the likes of Ipswich or Coventry if those other managerial vacancies happened? Obviously, you've got Bournemouth, obviously, without Edinburgh as well. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how quickly some of the teams can get the business done as well. Leading into, like, say, a couple of weeks. Obviously, the World Cup's happening, so that'll be the vocal point. But yeah, there'll be a lot of stressed owners, I think, currently trying to cover a lot of the vacancies for them. But yeah, we shall stand by for whatever happens in the crazy season for them. But talking of craziness, leading on to the cricket, today announced that Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson have been left out of the second test against New Zealand due to an incident that occurred Monday night. First of all, do we think it's the right decision that they've been left out of their test team for the second test?
Yeah, I think it had to be done. I think the ECB are under a lot of pressure, and I think you have to take them both out of the firing line. It's going to be the talking point anyway, whether they were in the team or not. It's not a good look for the ECB that the men's team seem to have a real issue with drinking culture. It's constantly a thing about players being out after curfew, in nightclubs and whatever. This isn't the first incident involving Ben Stokes either. And I think when it's your captain, it's not a good look for anyone. I think although they're both brilliant players and Stokes is an excellent leader, taking them out of the team for now is the right thing to do for me, just to try and let things die down a little bit. Let the two of them lay low, investigate everything properly and go from there. But I think throwing them straight back in possibly sets the wrong example of, this is what's happened and yet there's no repercussions for it. Stokes, whether he retires, whether he comes back, who knows? It remains to be seen. But I do think it won't be long before we see at least one of them back in the team.
Yeah, I think it would be a shame if Stokes does bow out in this way. Like, say, there has been previous issues, obviously, where he got into a fight in a nightclub. I think for him, I felt for him, obviously, he was defending a couple of guys who were the subject of a homophobic attack. So you've just got, obviously, it's difficult when you're in the public eye. Any action you do is scrutinised. Yeah. He's an incredible leader and an incredible player. Obviously, he struggled with injuries massively. I think it was Michael Atherton or Nasser Hussain was saying, even in the last test against New Zealand, although England won comfortably, he looked like a captain who has been at the helm for 4 years. It takes its toll mentally on you as well, which Ben Stokes obviously previously struggled with his mental health and things like that as well. So whether or not it is the last we see of him, I hope it's not. Even if he's not the captain, I think he's an incredible player to have around the team, his experience and his skill. But yeah, I think it's the right decision from the ECB to take him out the firing line for this second test, because they broke curfew. At the end of the day, they were out when they shouldn't, obviously, because of what happened, an altercation with a Saracens academy player. The security guard who was in charge of obviously looking after Stokesy and Atkinson obviously got punched and was bloodied. So yeah, things need to be investigated first, but I think it would be a shame if it is the last we see of Ben Stokes in an England shirt. Obviously with him not in the side as captain, Joe Root has been made captain, which I think is a interesting decision considering Harry Brooks was the vice captain, but I think Brooks' form hasn't been the best, and I think you just need a bit of stability from Joe Root on the field and off the field, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's that leadership and experience aspect that they're looking at with Root. I don't think it's the long-term solution. But I think for now it's probably the right call. I also think, going back to what you said a second ago, it is also worth noting that although, as I said, Stokes has been involved in the previous incident as well, neither time has he been deemed as the aggressor. It's been because of something that's happened whilst he's been there. It's almost like, wrong place, wrong time sort of thing with Ben Stokes.
Balotelli likewise me.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think, I was looking at the team when the news broke about the incident, and then you're looking at it thinking, who is going to be the captain? There's a lot of names there that you probably rule out straight away, purely due to lack of experience more than anything. So I think the selection of Root does make more sense. But as I said, I can't see it being the long-term answer, really.
I think they may default if Ben Stokes does step down as captain. I think they may default back to Harry Brook potentially. Like I say, that it's a very different mix to this England squad. They've got a lot of new players and young players coming in, and obviously got the likes of Joe Root, who's been in and around the game as well, and Duckett as well, has been in and around it as well. But with them, the exclusion of Stokes and Gus Atkinson, Jordan Cox has been called up, and Jofra Archer's in the side. Obviously, I was at Essex last night. Jordan Cox looked superb. Obviously, survived a very dubious run-out scare in the game, but I think what he offers with the bat and his fielding as well. Be interesting to see, obviously, whether or not Jamie Smith if Jordan Cox does obviously make it into the actual squad, the test team. Will Jamie Smith stay behind the stumps? Obviously, Jordan Cox can do it as well. I don't think he will. I think Jordan Cox will probably be in the field. And Jofra Archer back from the IPL. There was a bit of obviously controversy, the fact that he's being paid big bucks from England and wasn't involved in their first game due to the IPL. So yeah, we'll obviously stand by and see what the squad is announced, and obviously further what will happen with Stokes and Atkinson. I think it's a shame, obviously, for Atkinson. Played very well in the last test against New Zealand. See, England won by 115 runs on third day, even with all the rain delays the first day. So it's a shame for him. But again, the old phrase, you do the crime, you've got to do the time. So hopefully we'll see him back. But going on to that test match, obviously, since it was a crazy test match, since that, obviously, the Lord's pitch has been graded as unsatisfactory, which obviously fair enough. You can't have that many wickets falling on days 1, 2, and 3, especially with rain delays. But putting that aside, what did you make of England's performances? Obviously, Ollie Robinson returning to the side, superb with the ball. Josh Tongue as well looked superb as well.
Yeah, I felt like when we were bowling, we looked sublime. I think Ollie Robinson, absolutely sensational. I think there was no stopping him other than the rain. Batting, we didn't look great. We looked okay. We got the job done, but I didn't think we were particularly great. I mean, obviously we can talk about the pitch for weeks on end and moan about that, but both teams had to play on it. I felt we were the better team. I think we looked like we were improving as a side as well, and I think that was probably the main thing that I wanted to see. I think there's been a bit of a reset amongst England and how we're going to try and do things now in terms of, you know, how we're going to play. I mean, watching Ben Duckett leaving the first ball was just
it's a headline in itself.
it was something I thought I'd never ever see. It was unbelievable, and yeah, I think we're on the right track. There's still improvement that's needed, but I think we will get there, and I think we are slowly getting to where we want to be. So hopefully, it's going to be a good time to be an England cricket fan.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Do we think it's Bazball was now grown up a little bit? Or do you think we're still going to see that same sort of sometimes recklessness going into it? Do you think obviously some of the new inclusions with like Emiliano Gay coming in will settle us a little bit? Obviously he's very attacking anyway, but
yeah, I think you'd have to say that the new players coming in will potentially settle things, but purely because they've not necessarily played that style before. They're not necessarily going to have that reckless approach that we've seen before under Baz. I think Bazball possibly is maturing a little bit. I think we've had time to probably get used to it now, so the players are going to be in a somewhat better position in terms of playing it. I also think that Baz has probably had to change things up a little bit in terms of how we play, purely because there has been so many questions asked about whether he is the right man. The questions were asked of Rob Key as well at the very top. So I think England have adjusted slightly. I think the newer players are going to be less reckless, and I think Bazball probably has matured that bit as well. And I think overall it's proving to be a nice little mixture of styles.
Yeah, no, like I say, fingers crossed. Next test is coming up in a couple of days, so we will soon see what happens. But staying on to cricket, obviously the women's T20 World Cup starts this week. England had their last warm-up game against India, which they won. Great to see Nat Sciver-Brunt back in the side, back in the runs as well. Amy Jones as well with a half century as well. We've got Sri Lanka at Edgbaston. It's going to be a tough game, but what do you make of England's chances?
I'd say we're probably one of the favourites, especially because it is a home tournament. I think that starting with Sri Lanka is a tough way to start, but at the same time, it's going to be a good indicator of where we are. I think we should be looking to win most of our games. I mean, we've got New Zealand again.
Ireland.
Yeah, so there's a few interesting ones, but yeah, I think we've got a good chance. I think the way that we played the last couple of tests, we've done all right. We've done relatively well. Having the likes of Nat Sciver-Brunt available is big. If Lauren Bell can keep performing with the ball in hand like she has done, she can take however many wickets easily. So yeah, I think we're in a good position and hopefully can start with a big win on Friday night.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like I say, Laura Bell's obviously been unbelievable, but it's good to see Smith getting the wicket. She picked up 3 again today. Charlie Dean as well picking up 2, and Danny Gibson as well coming back into form as well at the right time. So, like I say, there's some tough games for us. Like I say, we start off with Sri Lanka this Friday, and then Tuesday we've got Ireland, which we should, in theory, win. And we've got Scotland on the Saturday, the 20th. Another tough game against the West Indies on the 24th, and then New Zealand women, which will also be a tough game. But I think we're going into the tournament in actually some good form as well, which is good. So yeah, obviously it's home tournament as well. So hopefully the nation can get behind our ladies as well. But yeah, leading on to some rugby news. Obviously, massive news that Ellie Kildunne is leaving Quins. It's still unclear of where she's going to join. There's been rumours, like we said, about Sale potentially, but they've made some big signings as well. Yeah, bit of a shock, I think. Bit of out of the blue. But where do we think Ellie's going to end up?
I really don't know. At one point, I think Loughborough were the favourites. I can't see it being them. If she wants PWR titles, Gloucester would be the obvious shout. I can't see it being them. They've just extended Emma Singh's contract. Saracens, Jess Breach will carry on playing fullback there. I can't really see that one happening. It won't be Leicester. I don't think they're anywhere near in a position to be signing players of Ellie's calibre. Exeter, although they've had a bit of a clear out, I'm not convinced it'd be them either. I think Sale are probably the relatively obvious choice in terms of she's from Yorkshire, so she's from up north, so it's closer to home for her. It probably suits the style of rugby that she would like to play. They've got a good contingent of red roses already there, but at the same time, they've got a contingent of red roses already there. That's not going to come cheap. I think Bristol could be in with a good shout. They need a big name now that Alona Mars obviously not there anymore. They've got Leslie Samet as the male equivalent of that big name, the marketing side of things, as they said. So if they are serious about growing the women's team as well, then Ellie is probably their best option of doing that. Ealing or Trailfinders are potentially an option as well. They've obviously got into the playoffs this season. Meg Jones is there as England captain. It's not far from Harlequins, so it wouldn't be an upheaval for Ellie to have to move too far in that sense. I think there's questions of obviously where she's going. I think there also needs to be questions of why she's leaving Harlequins. I know they've not had a particularly great season, but she's been there for 5 years. She still hasn't won a title with them. Why now? What's going on behind the scenes to cause this move? She obviously isn't the first Red Rose to leave the quarters. I mean, Jess Breach did it a couple of years ago to go to Saracens. Harlequins have announced today they're signing Marley Packer, a multi-capped Red Rose. I think there need to be questions to Harlequins as to why this has happened, because you can't be letting players like Ellie Kildunne leave the club if you're serious about challenging for things. She is arguably the best player in the world. So what's gone wrong for a player like that to be leaving your club?
Do we think she's looking for a fresh challenge, or like I say, it hasn't really been announced why it's happened? She just kind of said it's time. But like I said, she's one of the best players in the world. So there's been a lot of player movement in the PWR recently, like you mentioned as well. Marley Packer leaving Sarries to join Quins, obviously potentially Rosie Gallagher as well. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed yet, but that's in the rumour mill. So yeah, a lot of movement as well in the PWR. So it'd be interesting to see where Ellie ends up on there as well. Massive signing for Quins, obviously losing arguably the best player in the world. I know they're very different positions, but the experience of Marley Packer coming in as well was huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Harlequin signing Marley is a massive move. She is an incredible player, so much experience, great leadership qualities. Jade Concord obviously has retired now, so I think it's almost a like for like in that sort of sense. I mean, potentially, two of their back row next year will be Aoife Wafer and Marley Packer. If you can put another excellent back row in there, which they probably have got, that's going to be an unstoppable back row, and it's not one that I would fancy coming up against in a scrum or a maul or anything like that, because there's going to be so much power in that back row.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one to do, but staying obviously with rugby and the female side of it, obviously we've had in the news this week or from last week leading into this week, obviously the Maggie Alphonsi sexism issue. I think the frustration is it always seems to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back with women in sport. It's very, very difficult. Obviously, the gentleman in question has now stepped down. Whether or not he should have been given the option to step down rather than be actually fired for his comments. Yeah, I think Maggie's response is, again, she's exceptional player, exceptional pundit. Her knowledge is unrivaled within the sport. But what do you guys make of it?
Her having read all of it all the way through and what had actually happened, I think her response to the step down is a very dignified, professional response. She could have said it exactly how she felt, because obviously I'm sure you got to put out a more professional statement, but for me it's upsetting to see how far the women's game is going. But as you say, it's upsetting that we're having to have reports like this still come out. for that to happen. And with the stand down, he should have been fired the first time, that literally when it happened, not stayed in his job. And I reckon he only stood down because of the amount of
Pressure. Yeah.
pressure and all the, I want to use another word, but I won't. But all the pressure that's been surrounding him because of the incident. So he should have been sacked from the get-go, not given the option to walk. They should have made him leave when it happened. Like, if you don't hear reports about this at the men's game, why should we have to hear it for one of the best players England's had, one of our best pundits that we've got? It shouldn't have to happen.
No, like I say, it doesn't happen just in rugby as well. Obviously, it
No,
happens in women's football as well. Like I say, there's players who have been at the top of the game, achieved
yeah,
everything
and
they've
you
had
you
to.
still get it. You still get it now with players that have been retired for the last few years. So it's frustrating for me to see it because, like, as you say, two step forward, one step back. Like, why? Why does it have to happen still?
I think as well, you obviously within the media you get a lot of ex-professionals who come into the game, and because they've played the game, they automatically sometimes get a fast track into media, obviously a punditry, commentary, that sort of thing, and they're not always necessarily the best person for that role. Whereas you look at Maggie, and she's got the knowledge, she's got the experience, but she's such an exceptional pundit as well.
Yeah.
The way she's able to break down the game, analyze
It
performances as well.
she makes it interesting to actually pay attention to. Like, she's very engaging in that sense.
Yeah.
So,
She's
like,
passionate. Yeah.
you know, admittedly, I don't necessarily listen to all the punditry, but when she starts explaining and Ruby Tui herself starts explaining stuff, I will actually sit there and listen to every word. I'll put my phone down or put whatever I'm doing down and actually pay attention to what's being said. So, yeah, she's a good example of an ex-player that's got that punditry role and is doing very well with it.
I think, like say that I think the only saving grace is the gentleman in question. And we obviously don't even want to name him on there. Give him any airtime. That he has obviously he's no longer in position, but like I say, the frustration is the fact that he was given the option to step down as opposed to being
Yeah.
fired. I think that's the frustration. That I think would have made the biggest step and show that the RFU meant business. But in obviously slightly cheerier note, moving on, obviously it's coming up to the final regular round of the Premiership as well. A lot of places have all been confirmed now. I think the top four has now been confirmed, hasn't it? It's just whether or not who's got the final home semi-finals, isn't it?
Yeah, but we are now at semi-final stage.
Yeah,
So we've got two really interesting semi-finals this weekend. Leicester travel to Northampton and Exeter travel to Bath. Exeter beating Saracens convincingly on the final day and managed to leapfrog Leicester as well. So the question was all about who's going to get fourth. Would it be Exeter, Saracens, or Bristol? It was none of them. Exeter managed to somehow get third. So yeah, it all kicks off Friday night with Leicester travelling down the road to Northampton. It's going to be a really interesting one. There's a couple of players, I think, for Leicester that potentially might not be involved, or whether Jeff Parlin is just playing little mind games remains to be seen. Northampton at home are no easy. I mean, they're no easy sides anywhere, but at home they are a very good team, and obviously they finished top of the table as well. I think they were 5 points clear in the end. So I think they should beat Leicester, but when it comes to these Midlands derbies, you never know, especially when it comes to the playoffs. I think form can sort of go out the window. Bath Exeter, I am expecting to be somewhat closer. I think Exeter have hit, and I know I said the form can go out the window, but Exeter have hit form at the right time. They're going to be gunning for a trip back to Allianz Stadium. I think they perhaps were a bit underwhelming at times this season. I think they lost 6 games in the regular season, which isn't really like them. But I think they will turn up at the Rec and really be up for it. Bath haven't looked great the last few weeks, so they're going to hope that form does go out the window. Obviously, they'll want to, say goodbye to the players that are leaving with a good send-off and a trip back to Allianz. I mean, Alfie Barbary obviously heading off to Saracens. I think Thomas du Toit's leaving as well, which is a massive loss. He got a hat-trick, which is ridiculous for a prop. He's scored a ridiculous amount of tries in the time that he's been playing, and I've seen a few fans saying that he's one of the best players to ever don the blue and white stripes. So yeah, they'll be hoping for a good send off. I think it'll be a Northampton Bath final. Part of me was hoping that it'd be a Northampton Leicester final for that Midlands rivalry, but Exeter getting in the way of everyone's hopes and dreams.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, don't want me to have fun apparently.
Clearly not.
No, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of games. That's for sure.
No, like say, form kind of goes out the window, doesn't it? In semi-finals, I think with Bath, like say, they've fallen away a little bit towards the end. I think because they already knew they had top 4 secured, probably took their foot off the gas a little bit. But no, I think although we want that little bit of a Midlands rivalry, I think Bath Northampton is probably the right final. But again, you never know in semis.
No, in my luck it'll be Exeter versus Leicester.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, we can, as history has shown us the last few weeks, we can predict what we want, but it's probably not going to happen.
It means absolutely nothing what we predict. I predict all of these groups of the World Cup on this podcast, and they are all wrong.
Look up Panama.
Yeah. Panama are going to win the tournament. Follow me for more betting tips.
So leading on, obviously, our netball section. So Maria, obviously, we've got Helen Housby out of the comms.
Yeah, it's gutting because she's not missed a major tournament like that since 2014 when she started playing in, the comms team and World Cup. It does also now give us a bit of a headache in that goal attack position because at the moment we didn't really have a plan B. So it'll be really interesting to see what Anna Stenbridge, our new coach, actually does in that situation and who she has chosen for comms games, because apparently the 12 is already chosen. We'll find out at the end of the month once the NSL season's over, and then I'm guessing once the SSN season is over, so the season in Australia, because we've got a few England Roses over there. So it wasn't a great read. We kind of guessed it was happening because obviously she's got a stress fracture in her back. So how that happened, it then begs a question of the series that we did in South Africa, the additional games that happened that, us fans found about after the fact, kind of like, are they being given too much to do? Not enough rest, but yeah, we're kind of like our chances might not have been great anyway, but now we're kind of resigned to the fact that if we get top 4, we'll be lucky. But yeah, it's going to be tough because in the comps we've got Australia and South Africa in our group, and South Africa are a lot stronger than they have been. So if we finish second, I think honestly it's going to be a miracle at this point, but we'll see when the team gets announced. So having, as in any sport, having one of your best players not at a major tournament is difficult to accept at this point. So
like I say, there's been a lot of injuries going around, but hopefully it'll give somebody else the opportunity to maybe set up and do the business.
I mean, us dooming gloomers, we may all be proven wrong. So, we want to be, but, it's hard to look past that at that point. But then moving on to last weekend's NSL games, bit disappointing from what I was hoping for. But Thunder have basically, improved so much and they're finding their form at the right time. They won against Pulse, which I have a soft spot for both. From a Thunder perspective, they smashed out the park. And the grand final is in Manchester at the Co-op Live, so you know, a home grand final, what any team hopes for. So they'll be wanting that title back. And I said to someone at the beginning of the season that with Eleanor Caldwell back at Thunder, where she basically grew up within the NSL, she's come back and they're in the grand final. So, I'm not saying it's down to her, but she's back where she's happy. Um, but yeah, sadly, Forest lost to Lightning, which Forest have been Lightning's bogey side of the season, but Lightning know how to win semi-final games and final games. There's no stopping them once they get going. So this weekend's game against Pulse in London will be interesting to watch and probably the most nerve-wracking game of the season because both will want that. And the last time they met, it went into extra time. So, which wasn't enjoyable, but we can hope. But yeah, Thunder have that first spot, so they haven't got a game this weekend, but they'll be putting in the extra work in training to look at both sides from an analysis point of view. So we'll find out on Sun. Well, yeah, we'll find out late Saturday who Thunder have got in the final.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I want it to be a Thunder Pulse final, but I don't know. It depends what mentality Pulse have on Saturday for it. So we'll find out what happened. Get ready for the crash out on the group chat.
And also, it was announced that the Roses 26-27 training squad
Yeah.
was
So
released.
I think for the first time in a few years, collectively, we've all gone, we haven't got anything to complain about what's going on. Um, Jada Peckover's back in because she was dropped for last year's group. So she's back in. Tash Pavlin, so got Pavlova in the England squad. Gracie Smith has been announced in the full-time program instead of the Future Roses program, which at 17, I think from memory, Jiva Mentor, who retired at the end of last season, was the youngest when she debuted at 15, 16. So I think Gracie, she's done a heck of a lot of work behind the scenes and sacrificed a lot with personal life as well to get where she is. So we were all kind of pleased to see her there. There are a few bone of contentions, but generally it is a good group that there is. Hopefully from that, I know who I want to go to the comps, but whether that will materialize is a completely different situation. So it's a good group, so we'll find out. But they'll be wanting to build for next year's World Cup in Australia as well. So I think part of us want to sacrifice the comps to use it as building experience heading into next year's World Cup. So we'll see from that perspective.
Yeah, fingers crossed for them. And sort of the final segment, going on to the boxing. Obviously, it's been a crazy time for boxing at the moment. So I just want to start off with obviously the Katie Taylor announcement last Friday. She's going to get a final farewell at Croke Park in front of 80,000 fans.
Nice.
In Dublin. I got tickets today, got the pre-sale.
Oh,
Obviously, I'm
nice.
hoping for media, but yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very busy one. If even the launch press conference is anything to go by, Eddie Hearn said it's going to be one of those where were you when, one of those moments, and just seeing how Ireland have got behind Katie. Obviously, it's taken a lot of work for them to try and get this over the line. But today the pre-sale went online and the pre-sale sold out within about an hour. Like 40,000
Nice.
tickets have already
That's
gone.
pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible. It's not just going to be boxing, it's going to be music, it's going to be a show. So I think it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. And I think for Katie, what she's done for boxing, for women, boxing as a whole, but for women, she's
Yeah.
paved the way. Obviously, she had to pretend to be a boy when she was growing up to
Yeah.
box. and what she's achieved. Obviously, gold medalist at the 2012 Olympics. She's a two-way undisputed champion. She is the original GOAT of women's boxing, and I'm just so happy that she's getting this moment, because there were points where I didn't think it was going to happen. So yeah, I absolutely cannot wait. Obviously, she's coming up against Flora Pilley, who's 12-0, unbeaten, but I just don't think you can write off Katie Taylor. It's going to be her night, her moment. And obviously, that's just the main event. Obviously, the undercard hasn't been announced, but there's been a couple of teasers of who's going to be coming in. Obviously, Molly McCann potentially, obviously fighting on there. So I think it's going to be unbelievable, and I cannot wait to be there in Dublin, 5th of September. So it's going to be absolutely unreal. Last weekend, crazy weekend of boxing. I was in Sheffield for the Josh Padley Akif Fiaz fight night. Unbelievable fight night, considering obviously they've had two headliners pull out, Dalton Smith through injury and then Galal Yafai, but Matchroom still kept the card on, and so thankful for that they did. A lot of pressure on Padley and Fiaz to perform to do it, but they certainly did. It was 12 rounds. Padley coming out on top on split decision on points. Obviously, Akif Fiaz had a point deducted for a couple of low blows, but what a performance! Obviously, Josh Padley knows how to get it done. Obviously, loads of great performances. Leo Atang, first round knockout. Yeah, it was early, but it was inevitable. He's an absolute monster considering he's 19. Loveliest guy out of the ring. Absolutely loveliest guy out of the ring. In the ring, he's a monster. And kind of felt for him because he lost that opportunity to get that highlight reel knockout. But again, referees in a very difficult position, with stopping fights too early, too late. Spider Suleiman as well, capturing the belt against Ibi Nadim. Again, really good fight. Spider looked really good, got it on points. Essex's Connor Mitchell went 3-0. Another savage first round knockout. Again, he looked really good. He's going to be building as well. Aaron Bowen got the win over Troy Coleman with a stoppage. Chris Malunda as well, and Ed Hardy looked really, really good as well. So it was really, really good fight night. Really good atmosphere as well, considering. Then also you had the Zuffa boxing night in Bournemouth on the same night. A lot of people I know went to it, watched it. The Chris Billam-Smith and Riziki headline event was absolutely unbelievable. I watched it back. Just two absolute brutal war between them. But yeah, I think obviously there's consistently the back and forth between Eddie Hearn and Dana White, especially with the AJ Fury fight. Obviously, Dana White trying to get involved in it, saying he's going to promote it. So yeah, it's a funny one. It is really a funny one. But you've also got obviously the announcement that Boxer have joined up with DAZN, multi-fight deal. They're still going to be on the BBC as well, which I think is really important for boxing. Obviously, they're wanting to grow the sport and make it more accessible. I think having it on terrestrial TV is really important as well. Obviously, they announced yesterday that the Callum Simpson Troy fight is happening in August as well. So, yeah, I think a lot of the promoters, a lot of big cards, a lot of big fights coming up as well. This week, fight week, we're in America, in Arizona. Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus Antonio Vargas. Obviously, I'm an absolute Bam fangirl. I think he is one of the best pound for pound fighters. You've got Jerome Boots Ennis, obviously, you could say as well. But Bam is absolutely unreal. Is for the WBA World Bantamweight title. Bam looking to become a 2-division unified world champion. Is announced today that he's relinquished his other belts, so he can obviously step up a weight class as well. So really excited to see what he does against Vargas. Tough fight, but I want to see that Bam Inoue fight. There's talks that he could potentially fight Inoue's brother first, Takuma. So don't know, but yeah, looking forward to this one. It'll be a really good card. You've got Elif Nur Turhan, the Turk Destroyer, who's coming back. Obviously, she fought back in January against Taylor Genson in Newcastle. It was a split decision win, so it wasn't her best performance. So looking to see her back in action again. But yeah, it's a crazy, crazy time for boxing, but exciting and busy.
Mm.
But no, I think that is all from me. Is there anything else from you guys?
No, no, not that I can, not that I can think of. No, I think just echo your point about free to air boxing on the BBC. I think Ben Shalom's done a really good job of getting that one sorted. I think he's weighing in with various things across boxing at the minute as well. Seemingly, he's grown a bit of a backbone of late. Even he said that he wants to promote the AJ Fury fight just because. But yeah, no, I think it is important that we have things like boxing on channels like the BBC to bring in that new audience and everything like that. So yeah, hopefully it'll continue for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's a massive deal for them. Obviously, for them joining like with DAZN as well, because that's where all the biggest promoters are currently on DAZN. Hopefully, it'll make it easier to make more fights. It'll give boxing potentially a bit of influx of cash as well. They've lost a lot of fighters. Obviously, Ben Shalom as well, before the Friday night fight, stated that he's started legal proceedings against Dana White and Zuffa Boxing
Wow.
because they've interfered with contracts with boxers, fighters. So obviously stand by for that. In the post-fight press conference in Sheffield, obviously Eddie Hearn said they had a phone call with Ben Shalom kind of about that situation. He didn't go into
Yeah,
too much detail about what was discussed, but he did obviously say he gave Ben a bit of advice, and he kind of just said, like, almost egged him on as such, going, "You should just go rogue, start flipping tables and going mad and stuff like that." But
yeah,
I think it's good. Obviously, Eddie and Ben have been at each other's throats. Obviously, Eddie said it as well. It's kind of what they do, especially to the newbies coming in. Frank Warren absolutely tried to drive Eddie into the ground. He's brilliant at it. So it's great
yeah,
for the sport. It makes it a lot more exciting. So yeah, we'll stand by and see obviously what happens with the boxer and Dana White situation. But
yeah,
exciting times for boxing, exciting times for sport. Obviously, you've got the World Cup, got netball, cricket as well. So I think we're all going to be very, very busy on Sports Centred.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. The F1 season will keep me busy in between the end of the NSL season and the comms, so I won't be too depressed at the end of the month.
No, exactly. Lots going on. But no, I think that's all from
Yeah.
us. But yeah, we
Yeah.
will catch up with you all next week and have a good week, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.